Hello everybody, my name's CrazyToast and we'll be talking about the Tier 7 Panther tank. Development started in 1941 as a direct response to the Soviet T-34 and the KV-1 tanks, which outclassed the Panzer III and Panzer IV tanks in the German army. There were two designs which were represented in-game. The first one, the VK-3002 design, was a direct homage to the T-34. It resembled a T-34 hull and turret form. However, the DB design could not hold the planned 7.5 centimeter L-70 cannon. They tried to overcome this by dropping the crew down to 2 men to save room in the turret for the larger gun. However, German command did not like this idea. The DB design was dropped. So Germany turned to a company called MAN, which designed our beloved Panther tank as we know it, which was a more German design which used a Tiger 1 engine. The Panther was originally planned to weigh 30 tons, however, with everything the Germans tried to build, Hitler wanted more armor and bigger guns. Panther eventually reached 44 tons. Once accepted, the tank was delayed mainly because there were too few specialized machine tools needed for machining the hull. Finished tanks were produced in December and suffered from reliability problems as a result of the haste. The tank was in very high demand and designs were passed to several other manufacturing companies to speed up production. Production was also hindered by Allied bombings. However, the Panther was the third most produced tank by Germany, only being outproduced by the Stug 3 and the Panzer IV. In combat, the first-gen Panthers had really bad mechanical problems. The engine was very prone to overheating, which caused gasoline leaks, motor oil leaks from engine gaskets, and in some cases led to fire. Combat-wise, the Panthers were extremely effective against Allied tanks. During the Battle of Kursk, the Panther had a very high kill-death ratio, only making up 7% of the German tank forces. However, Panther tanks were also detrimental to the German war effort, delaying Operation Citadel for almost 2 months with mechanical problems, allowing the Soviets to build up massive amounts of anti-tank defenses, causing the Germans to lose. Mechanical problems were always a problem. They plagued their crews even after Guderian reported that almost all the bugs have been worked out. Panther tanks were captured by the Allies, allowing them to create countermeasures against them, which destroyed the shock value of the Panthers. The Panthers performed very well in open country, however in city fighting they were almost useless. Allied response was quick to counter the Panther. The Soviets began creating their T-34-85s, Su-85s, and the Su-100s, and later the IS-2. The American and British began producing their Sherman Fireflies and the M10 tank destroyers with their 17-pounders. Panther tank's frontal armor is 85 millimeters. Sloped, it's about 100. So as long as you're facing enemy on flat ground, you may bounce a decent amount of shots. If you angle to the side, you'll probably get a little more out of it, probably about 110 millimeters. Side and rear armor is very weak, 50 and 40. So you don't want to expose your side to enemy fire. You will bounce off the front most weapons below your tier. However, most tanks above your tier will have a better time penetrating you. Sides and rear are your main weak spots. This tank is prone to fire, and I would suggest nicely that you don't show the enemy your flanks. It will be the death of you. The turret's a bit better at 120 millimeters of frontal armor. However, it's flat, and your gun takes up more than half of the front of the surface area of the turret. The sides are a little at 60. However, they're not really sloped to the sides. They're only sloped if the turret is facing the enemy. However, you can still get penetrated. It's not much. It's only about 80 millimeters sloped if you're facing the enemy. So prepare to take a few shots in the turret. Rear armor is only 40, so I would suggest not showing your rear to your enemy. Your armor has a few weak spots. The machine gun port and the lower glacis plate can be penetrated by most weapons that you will be facing. I would recommend that you slightly angle your tank when directly facing your target, but only slightly so you do not expose your side armor too much. If you do get penned from the front, you will have a really good chance of a round destroying or at least damaging your engine and even setting you on fire. So bring a fire extinguisher. A shot to your turret or upper hull from the side will also give you a good chance of getting ammo racked and fire as well. This tank loves fire, so be warned. Weapons, you get to start out with 2 weapons, the 10.5 centimeter 28 and the 75 centimeter, or the 7.5 centimeter L70. I would totally disregard the Tier 5 10.7 centimeter gun, because at Tier 7, the 10.7 is nothing. It does not work. I do not want to see a Panther on the field with a 10.5, because I will push you off a cliff. You are useless. Even with gold rounds. Just not worth it. The 7.5 centimeter is the way to go when you're stock, until you can unlock, or if you have unlocked the 88. But between those two, though, it's really up to your playstyle. The 75 millimeter L70 has better penetration, load time, and aim time, while the 88 has slightly better alpha damage as a trade-off for the other stats. The weapon that is by far the best, in my opinion, is the 7.5 centimeter L100. At its massive penetration power of 98 millimeters, you will be able to pen just about anything you come across. However, its damage isn't so high, so you have to play as a sniper, which suits the tank's fighting style. Equipment, I would suggest you run with a medium tank gun rammer to slow down to quicken up the reload time. This will bring down the reload time for the L100. The trained crew would be about 4 seconds. As with the low pen, you need to reload fast. Next, I would suggest either coated optics, raw liner, or even wet ammo rack. If you feel the need for added camo, I would lay on the camo net to stay hidden while sniping. The Panther is not a close range tank. You will pay for it if you try to brawl with your enemy. You are a support tank, and you should support heavies with long range fire. Do not put yourself in a situation that will put you in a position that exposes your side and rear to the enemy fire. Try to keep your tank at a distance and angle so that enemy shells have a better chance of bouncing off your frontal armor, and keep your tank out of sights of enemies with large caliber guns. Anything of your tier and higher, try to keep yourself away, or at a distance, so that way the round loses power and it'll bounce off your frontal. Also be aware that the turret traverses very slowly, and you will have to traverse your hull to snap to a target quickly. Keep that in mind when you're taking fire from other angles to not expose too much of yourself. When you are combating the Panther tanks, you got to realize that Panthers love open country and long sidelines, and they do have some ability to jump from hotspot to hotspot. If you can't pen 100+ millimeters of frontal armor, get on their sides. I would say not to aim for the turret unless you have an open shot for the side of the turret. If you're engaging the Panther from the front and you can't the turret, I would recommend loading HE rounds and aiming for the gun. This will give you a chance to maybe even disable the gun on the Panther tank. Personally, I love my Panther tank. It has the ability to kill targets quickly and effectively. Although it's prone to fire and ammo racking, you can make some great games with your Panther tank. It just takes some time for this to kick in. But give it a chance to grow on you. Just don't get too close. Fire is very bad for the skin.